Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's a hybrid event at this COP26 on water. We have guests here, but we also have speakers online. So I really welcome you here in the first ever water pavilion at a climate conference. Not to talk about water alone, but to really bring the climate world, the environmental world, the financial world into our water sphere and to go out. This is not the silo within climate, this is actually the place to connect. I'm Henk Ovink, I'm Special Envoy for International Water Affairs for the Kingdom of the Netherlands, and I'll be your moderator for this session today. A session that is dedicated in bringing water from climate to the Tajikistan conference on the decade in Dushanbe in July next year, and then onwards to 2023, the second ever UN conference on water, the first since 1977. This session is co-organized together with the government of Tajikistan, the government of the Netherlands, UNDESA, UN Water, and the World Bank. This is the place where we try to showcase water as a catalyst for sustainable development, a catalyst for climate action. And at the climate conference, it is of critical importance to show that opportunity water brings for mitigation, keeping us to 1.5 degrees, but also for adaptation, strengthening resiliency of our planet, our communities, our countries across the world. This is also a session where the Netherlands and Tajikistan host, but we want to showcase examples from across the world, from many amazing partners, young and a little less young, to showcase how water can be such a driver for climate and development. The conference and the midterm review of the Water Action Decade are our aims to achieve an international agreed upon water target, SDG 6, we all know, but water is in almost every other SDG. It is there for food security, it is there for equality, for women's rights and opportunities. It is there, of course, for climate and urbanization and infrastructure, and for fair governance. We just had a session on the fair water footprint, understanding how much water every economic activity actually uses, and that accountability, that part of governance is also critical important for water. This session, we'd like to gather ideas and possible answers concerning the central questions. How can the UN 2023 Water Conference strengthen links between water and climate? And second, how can the roads from Glasgow to Dushanbe to New York in 2023 help incorporate water targets in national climate targets? First, we start with a short welcome of our two hosts, the Netherlands and Tajikistan, and then, to help us spark this discussion, two short pitches of successful scalable case studies that showcase water solutions in climate action, followed by an expert panel and discussion reflecting on the pitches and the links between climate and water. And finally, my good friend, partner, but also the lead on Tajikistan for the 2023 conference and the Dushanbe Decade Conference, Sultan Rahimzoda, will wrap up the session and will send us home towards action, I hope. Now first, let's move on to a word of welcome from the organizers. First, our very own Minister Tom de Bruijn, Minister for Foreign Trade and Development Cooperation of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, of a word of welcome. Minister, the floor is yours.
Yeah, you can take it. Yeah. Does it work? Yeah. It works. Good. Henk, thank you very much, and thank you for all the work you're doing, because you're one of these pioneers that we need to bring the good things forward. Excellencies, distinguished guests, on behalf of UNDESA, the UN Water and the World Bank, I would like to welcome you to this water pavilion. The result of a collective effort by over 30 organizations, governments and companies. First of all, I would like to thank the First Deputy Minister of Energy and Water Resources of the Republic of Tajikistan, Mr. Jamshed Chumzoda. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. for co-organizing this important event ahead of the UN 2023 Water Conference, the first in 50 years actually. We are both looking forward to all your contributions on the road to this conference and your contributions to the Water Action Decade in general. Water must be at the core of our climate action. We need to convince climate decision makers of this by delivering cutting-edge, science-based advice and showing that many powerful water-related solutions are already available to us. For example, investing in wetlands, it is a highly efficient way to capture carbon. Investing in water management can reduce water consumption in agriculture and manufacturing. Improved water management will help us adapt to climate change, and to vulnerable communities will make it more resilient. These are easy wins, but only if we make water central to climate action. At the same time, of course, we need other smart solutions and decisions to solve the climate crisis, which is in fact also a water crisis. That's why we are keen to hear your ideas about that. To hear how you think you can contribute as we approach the UN Water Conference in 2023, because you're the ones with the necessary knowledge, experience and skills. Let us know, for instance, how can we work together with different sectors, like agriculture and industry, large greenhouse gas emitters. Let us know how we can close material loops in a way that minimizes carbon emissions and energy use. How can we treat wastewater so it's clean enough for reuse? Or how to give a voice to those who are affected by the most by this crisis, but who usually are unheard, so that we can truly understand, value and manage water more effectively. Take joint action and change and transform approaches. In order to achieve the climate mitigation and adaptation goals we've set ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and colleagues, I'm convinced we can create a world where everyone has access to high-quality water all year around. But we can only accomplish this in the short term if we act now, if we all invest in water. So help us tackle climate change through water action and value water for what it is, the key to sustainable solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Thanks for your encouraging words. Thanks you also for the support and partnership in the conference. But and agree, this call to action, water is indeed the driver for sustainable development. Thank you very much. Like to move to the second word of welcome. Very honored to have you here, First Deputy Minister of Energy and Water Resources of the Republic of Tajikistan, Mr. Jamshed Shomzoda. I'd like to give you the floor, Mr. Minister.
Thank you very much, Hank. I would like also to sincerely thank His Excellency, Mr. Tom de Bruijn, Minister of Foreign Trade and Development Cooperation of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, to his welcome remarks, as well as our fruitful cooperation towards the UN 2023 Water Conference. You know that we are here in the Water Pavilion, and as you mentioned, Your Excellency, a lot of cooperation was made, and you know, I think that is a look like water drop, becomes a big river. That's why after this, this all organization and governments coming together, and we make this pavilion first time in COP, and it's very important because I believe that we will start in the save every water drop, and we will have in the end of this process we'll have a big river. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure on behalf of Tajikistan to welcome you to this side event which is jointly organized with our friends from Netherlands, UNDESA, UN Water and the World Bank towards the UN 2023 Water Conference. As you might know, this conference is very important since it will be the first UN conference, as I mentioned, on water almost after almost 50 years. This is an excellent opportunity to all of us to create a watershed moment to raise the profile of water to the new level of aptitude, understanding of valuing. We are honored that Tajikistan and the Netherlands have been selected as a co-chairs on this conference. And it's our privilege jointly with UNDESA and UN Water leads the preparatory process. We have already started our collaboration works and launched the exclusive cross-sectoral and action-oriented preparatory process to make the conference successful. We are used as a platform of the Stockholm Water Week, Bonn Conference, Central Asia Conference, meeting of UN Water and group of Friends of Water, stakeholders meeting of the 9th Water Forum to brief member states, the other stakeholders about the conference and to receive your feedbacks, your expectation, your hopes and his important word gratitude. And also we use this platform also to get some feedbacks. Dear participant, the main objective of today's event is to showcase how the water can be integrated better in the agenda and target of the different sectors, specifically climate, and gather views to the desired process towards the UN 2023 Water Conference. Indeed, water and climate are very strongly interconnected. More than 80% of climate change impacts are happening through the water. Melting of the glaciers, hydrological cycle change, floods and mud floods, droughts, other water-related challenges hurt us economically every year and determining our efforts to achieve sustainable development. Do you some investigation assessments that droughts could be the next pandemic for humanitarian, but there will be no vaccine for it. So we have act now, and water can play an important role for adaptation, mitigation, and achieving the climate resilient agenda. The Decade for Action Water for Sustainable Development also aimed to catalyze action at all levels to achieve water-related goals and targets. The second Dushanbe Water Conference in 2022, being the milestone in the preparation to the UN 2023 Water Conference, will also focus on action and partnership to address water issues, including for the purpose and achievement climate resilience. We have to use these opportunities to make the changes, to bring water on top of the development agenda, and so to show that water can be deal maker and the leverage point for green economy, climate resilience, and more sustainable and inclusive world. So, please, as I mentioned by Honorable Minister Tom de Bruijn, give us your ideas, give us your views, and your actions to make these changes. The UN conference in 2023 is hope for many of us, but it's also our responsibility to make a watershed moment. Let's join our efforts, take commitments, and put action on the ground to make this happen. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much, First Deputy Minister Shoim Zoda, Minister De Bruijn, for your warm welcoming words. It's a good gift on my birthday, so it is actually a great day. What better day than to celebrate a birthday on water at the Water Pavilion at the COP here in Glasgow. Thank you so much for your commitment and the partnership we share. and the inspiration that comes with it. And on the inspiration, we go to pitches. Pitches that showcase how water can be the power we so much need. Successful scalable case studies showcase water solutions in climate action. Towards 2023, that conference, we as co-hosts strive to bring together countries, partners from public, private sector, NGOs and academia, represent concrete plans, concrete actions, agreements through voluntary commitments and partnerships. That is what we want to bring to 2023, to be able to scale and replicate across the world for this, First Deputy Minister, this watershed moment that you so rightly said. The conference and its consultative preparatory process needs to identify, gather, integrate all these different initiatives and looks for a way to learn, replicate and scale up these opportunities. We need these ideas and the partners behind these ideas to inspire and lead the way towards 2023. First, I would like to invite Marie-Christina Colo. Marie-Christina Colo is an eco-feminist, social entrepreneur and climate activist. The founder of Green and Cool, based in Madagascar, an innovative project making ecological soap from used edible oil, which is usually dumped down the drain. The soap is eco-friendly and has various forms. One current prototype does not require rinsing and therefore less drinking water is wasted. The project is an incredible example of innovative, cross-sectoral thinking and an ambition by an amazing water leader. Marie, the floor is yours.
Hello. Hi everyone, so I'm Marie-Christina Colo, I'm from Madagascar. I'm sure you have heard about the situation we are facing in my country. We are currently living the first worldwide famine directly related to climate change because of the drought in the deep south of my country. But allow me to start with a number, 3. 3 because Madagascar is the third country in the world with the worst water and sanitation access. 3 because 3 out of 4 people in my country do not have access to water and sanitation. 3, that's also the rank of our capital city, Antananarivo, that actually is considered as one of the dirtiest countries in the world. Yeah, that's not a good thing to share, but yeah. You know, we have various problems. We have drought, we have cyclones, we have floods, but we also have youth, innovations, creativity, and as you said before, I'm an eco-activist, a climate activist, but also a social entrepreneur. So with all these challenges, I decided to, in the midst of the pandemic actually, I decided to launch a solution because waste cooked oil, so waste edible oil, is actually one of the main water polluter in urban areas. People do not consider that this is actually a form of pollution. In countries like France, only 5% of this oil is recycled. Imagine in developing countries like Madagascar, when we don't have epuration system to just clean this water. And imagine that in the capital city where I'm living, before going to COP, there was no water for 3 weeks in my area. So can you imagine living with, yeah, but I still wash, don't worry. And how do I do this? It's thanks to one of my solutions. We decide to launch a no-rinse soap. A no-rinse soap that do not need water, that need a minimum of water, and people can still have access to hygiene, because right to hygiene is very important. It's a human right to have access to hygiene. And we are talking about COVID-19. Everyone is asked to wash their hands. How can you wash your hands and protect yourself from COVID if you don't have water? So use our innovative soap. You can do that with us. You can also protect yourself from different diseases. Because, for example, in countries like Madagascar, diarrhea is the second disease that killed the young kids under 5 years old. So yes, this is only one small solution that I'm bringing in my country, but in the middle of the pandemic, I was able to create jobs for 12 vulnerable women. I said it, I'm a feminist too, so I'm focusing on women empowerment. And my conclusion will be to, I'm asking people here to also consider youth solutions, social entrepreneurship, but not only youth solution and social entrepreneurship, but also solutions brought by the communities, local communities. We have small, scalable solutions that can bring positive change. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Marie-Christina, for your amazing work, the inspiration. You're so right. It's women and girls that are hit hardest by a lack of wash. It is also your call to action to global leaders that in this 2 years of a pandemic, where the 2, 3, and 4 billion people that still lack access to wash, we didn't change a dime on that number. So that call to action from the ground up, but also the action itself, very much valued. Thank you so much for sharing that. And also, let's make sure that we scale these solutions for water security, not only in your country, in your city, with your communities, but across the world. More inspiration. I go to Billy Dumaliang, and Billy is with us online. Billy is advocacy officer and trustee of the award-winning conservation and sustainable tourism project, Masungi Georeserve Foundation. The Masungi Geopark project, one of the largest collaborative reforestation efforts in the country, aims to help solve the triple crisis of biodiversity loss, climate change, and a looming water crisis through powerful, again, youth-led movements. Billy, please tell us your story. You are there.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. And I come from a team of the Masungi Georeserve, conserving a karst landscape 47 kilometers east of Metro Manila. We are also part of the Watershed, which serves 20 million Filipinos and the largest or most populous region in the country. In 1996, this is what the karst formation looks like. The forest is lost because of decades of abuse and neglect from illegal logging, quarrying, and other harmful activities. It took 20 long years to be able to have what we see today, which is now a secondary forest that is home to unique and endemic species such as the purple jade vine, the highest number of species of snails in the entire Philippines, and these cute and small mammals called the North Luzon giant cloud rat. In 2015, we opened the trails at the Georeserve for limited visits in order to sustain our big operations and in order to build a community of advocates that know the place intimately and can help fight for its protection. We know that the rocks are not just habitats of biodiversity, but are actually critical parts of the waterways. The water that flows into Masungi Georeserve goes into 3 major waterways, including Manila Bay, the Agus River flowing into the Pacific Ocean, and the Laguna de Bay, which is the largest lake in the Philippines. And so when we were challenged to take upon the Masungi Geopark project by then Environment Secretary Lopez, we said yes. It was a project to restore some 2,700 hectares of the nuded watershed areas around the Masungi limestones. As you can see, this new area was another challenge with no trees except for one patch of pine trees up in the top portion of this photo. However, we knew this was an important task because the Philippines is one of the most, if not the most, impacted nation of the climate crisis and extreme water events. In 2020, we were hit by Typhoon Ulysses, which destroyed the crops, farms of our downstream communities and submerged entire houses with floodwater up to the rooftops. We know that ecosystem-based disaster risk mitigation strategies such as rewilding and reforestation can help regulate water flow and control erosion significantly. To date, we have engaged 100 rangers, recovered 2,000 hectares of land, installed 10 ranger stations, established 15 kilometers of monitoring trails, and planted and nurtured more than 60,000 native trees. And this is not without the help and support of hundreds of partners from the civil sector, the academe, the public, and private sectors. However, it is not without huge challenges. In March 2020, a quarrying company fenced us out of the watershed and hammered barbed wires into our trees. In July 2020 and October 2020, during the pandemic, we experienced 2 forced invasions of the watershed by groups linked to security forces. And in March 2021, we helped expose the proliferation of swimming pool developments in an already water scarce area. And in July 2021, the worst has happened when 2 of our rangers protecting the watershed were shot in the head and the neck. Fortunately, they survived, but this reminded us of the huge risks and dangers of doing this work in a country such as the Philippines. Despite this, we remain hopeful because we know that there's no other alternative but to save the watershed in order to save our people. Thank you very much for the organizers for giving us a platform in this very important meeting, and we hope to connect with everyone even after this session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Billy, and please stay with us. Thank you all sharing your work, the story, but also the amazing challenges that come with it. Again, your activism and that of your group, your network, not only helps save and secure water, it helps save and secure lives and livelihoods. So critical, important. So also be careful in your activism. But it's great that you are here to share that story and stay with us. Not only today in this Water Pavilion session, but all the way towards 2023 and beyond. We need this inspiration, but also this call to action. But we also need that to be able to scale up that level of activity across the world. What the pictures show is that water, because of its connections across almost everything, water is life, brings all stakeholders also together. It connects through all SDGs, the challenges, but with that it connects to all the people and partners, institutions involved. They come to the same table because of water. And we can forge coalition, strengthen capacity, and with that provoke best solutions to be replicated and scaled. And this is important for our second part for the event, but also to reach a sustainable and secure water world for all. We're very proud to have an extraordinary panel. I feel honored to introduce you to this wealth of experience in water, climate, civil society, governance, and much more. First, our panelists were asked to reflect a bit on the pitches we just saw, while keeping to 2 main questions in mind. One, how can the UN 2023 Water Conference strengthen links between the water and climate agenda? And second, how can the road towards 2023 help to incorporate water targets into national climate plans and targets? After everyone finished their short opening statement, we will follow up with a few questions and then some interaction from online and the room. First, we have Jamila Seeley, who is with us online. And Jamila is an environmental professional currently working in the biodiversity and conservation section of the Ministry of Environment and National Beautification in Barbados. And she's vice chairman of the steering committee of the Global Water Partnership. She has forged her path to environmental management and education from a very young age. Throughout her journey, gained notable accomplishment, including the Queen's Young Leader Award, the Commonwealth Young Achiever, and 1 Young World Ambassador. I'm amazed that you are able to join us, Jamila. The floor is yours.
Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you for inviting me to be a part of this event. And I'm sending you some warmth from Barbados in the Caribbean, and happy birthday to you. Mine is also on Wednesday, so we're in a good month. Water and climate change are both cross-cutting issues, and I think they should be managed together. As we said before, water is important for our survival. And not only the water company in your various countries are the managers of water, but each person is a manager for water. And just reflecting on the pitches, I am so amazed that young people are doing these things. So for like Marie in Madagascar, you created something out of necessity. And I would have never thought to do something like that. But especially when things are scarce is when we become our most creative. So I'm really happy to see that something like that is being done. And also, Billy, I am so happy that you're doing something in face of violence, that you're so driven, and it's really an inspiration. I would say both of you are inspiring me to keep going, to keep pushing, being an environmental advocate. With respect to the water conference, I believe that youth are really important to include and should be included within decision-making opportunities. So in each aspect, and you have a couple of years to include youth. So in each aspect, there should be some kind of youth involvement at some stage, maybe a youth conference. I'm not sure if there's a youth part of the water conference, but there should be. And not just having a youth conference and having them do like a statement at the main conference, but having them actually involved in each aspect. And I think that is all at this moment.
Thanks, Jamila. Thanks so much. Thanks for applauding the two pitches and the women and the power behind it, but also calling on the issue of youth. Tajikistan and the Netherlands take that not only very serious, it should be core and central, not only for the conference, but for the lead up to that conference and the work beyond, the implementation of the actions we see. Already many initiatives on youth are being forwarded to us. WMO is one of those partners who said we want to lead on bringing youth together, but there are many, many more. And we want to make sure that we are the platform for all those initiatives for youth. And at a certain point also bring that together. I'm pretty sure in Dushanbe, in the Water Decade conference in June and July this year, we will see many youth come together to rally behind water action. Thanks so much, Jamila, for your reflections. Second, I'd like to give the word to Malik Fida Abdullah Khan. Malik is the CEO of the Center for Environmental and Geographic Information Services, GSIS. Mr. Malik Fida Khan has over 29 years of extensive experience spanning across the diversified fields of water resource planning and management, climate change, information technology, and development projects in Bangladesh. Mr. Khan also is supervising the activities of Climate Change and Disaster Management Division. Malik, the floor is yours. Oh, you're here. I thought you were online. It's so good to see you, Malik. Take a microphone and a chair, and please share with you our reflections. The hybrid is really hybrid. Eh? Yeah.
Thank you very much, for inviting me, and thank you for the two presentations, especially the sharing your experience about the two countries. As you know that Bangladesh is one of the deltaic country, and we have a lot of issues, especially the water and climate. At the moment, we are in the process of preparation of the Delta Plan, and the Delta Plan is a 100-year strategic plan that is already in the process of implementation in Bangladesh. And in parallel of that, we are also preparing the National Adaptation Plan. So what I am suggesting, these two young presentation is definitely it will carry over to the 2023 conference. But I should point out the few other things which is very important in the sense of, the climate adaptation. We are trying to, put into our national adaptation plan of the nature-based solution, and also some of the innovations like floating agriculture. I think this kind of, innovation should be put forward for learning for the other countries. So that could be one of the options that in 2023 that we can carry over this innovation. Maybe it's a local level innovation, but it's not exposed in that way. I think that kind of exposure is very, very important. This is one of my suggestion. And second is the valuing water. If you see the water and climate, what we are trying to do in our country, that we are not considering only the quantum of the water. We are also considering the water for the ecosystem, water for the river ecosystem. So you have to think that there should be a water for the river ecosystem. So that kind of examples or that kind of, real applications in our country or any other countries should be exposed to the other nations. I think these are the few ideas that so far I'm just thinking. But apart from that, in our country, the young and especially the women are not involved in that way. So I think that you should also involve, or you should invite the people who are young, who are working in the climate change and water, and similarly the women who are also working and try to expose in the water sector. I think these are the area that this is my immediate reactions and my reflection that should be reflected in the 2023, the water conference. And definitely some of the experience that we have already with the assistance from the Netherlands government that we are preparing. I have mentioned, prepared already the Bangladesh Delta Plan, the 100-year strategic plan. And now we are preparing, the National Adaptation Plan. So that kind of innovation, some of the part of this plan, there is a huge innovations. And some of the things should be, translate and transform to the other countries. Just give you one example, the floating agriculture in our country is translate and transform to the Vietnam. So they're using the technology or the climate adaptation agriculture in our country and modified it and transferred it to the Vietnam. I think if you can able to expose this kind of small things, but which has a very effective and which can be scalable, definitely that will help us in the 2023 UN, the Water Convention. Thank you very much again, and thank you for inviting me.
And great that you are with us. Please stay. Thanks also Thanks also for sharing the necessities, a systems approach in governance with the Bangladesh Delta Plan for the long term, a systems approach also on our riverine, our aquifers, our water system, an approach that is innovative, and then those innovations that drive actions across. Thanks so much for sharing that experience. And then last, but definitely not least, online, Jennifer Sarah. Jennifer Sarah is the Global Director of the World Bank's Group's Water Global Practice. Jennifer has over 30 years of experience working on global water issues in the World Bank across the world, with previous assignments based in Vietnam, Brazil, and Bolivia. In her current role, she leads the Global Practice Senior Management Team, and under her leadership, the Water Global Practice supports an integrated approach to water security with a focus on sustaining water resources, delivering services, and building resiliency. Jennifer also was the driving force in the World Bank for the high-level panel on water, an amazing colleague. Welcome, Jennifer. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Hank. Happy birthday. Sorry, not there to give you a birthday hug in person. And happy birthday to you, Jamila, even though it's a few days away. My son's birthday's on Thursday, so it is a great week for birthdays. Maria Cristina and Billy, thank you for your pitches. They're so inspirational. They show you the power of the youth, the power of passion, the power of energy, but also importantly, how water does link to so many other sectors. as you say, you need soap, right? And hygiene and water and sanitation. That's a basic need every single day that everybody on this planet needs. And Billy, protecting our forests and the inspiration that, yes, we can come back and recover ecosystems that have been destroyed. And so it's fantastic to see that work. And this is exactly the types of examples that we want as we prepare for the run-up to this incredible conference of the UN 2023 Water Conference. As Hank said, it's the first conference on water in 50 years. So it's a really, really important event. And I think what's going to be really important is to take all this energy and passion of the youth and what's going on around the world and solutions people are finding and link it also to the political leadership. And for those of you who are in Glasgow this week and for us who are listening patiently to see what comes out of this climate conference, we're actually really, really excited to hear some of the pronouncements on both adaptation and mitigation, which are so relevant to water and on all the sectors that use water. And one thing that really struck me this week that gets me very excited, in addition to the attention to adaptation, is the 100 heads of state who've made commitments to greenhouse gas emissions reduction, but in particular methane. And methane is really, really important to us in the water sector. We don't talk about it that much, but we emit a lot of methane in two ways. 10% of methane emissions comes from misuse of water in irrigation of rice paddies. And many of us don't know that, but we can actually do a huge win-win. And we're hearing about water scarcity around the world and how we have to use our water resources better. So in irrigation, if we could just irrigate and make sure that farmers receive the water they need, but not too much water, we can actually reduce the amount of methane being emitted and be able to share the water and use the water more efficiently. So that's one example. But the other one is most people don't realize that sanitation and human waste, both treated and untreated human waste, are also emit huge amount of methane. So again, this is another opportunity for us to really work together and think about how do you deliver services, to basic services on sanitation to those who don't have it, while also getting the benefits of climate. And I think that's exactly what this conference is about, is bringing together the different sectors. We know we need water for energy, we need water for agriculture, we need water for the cities. How do we bring all the sectors together? But how do we bring the different agendas together? How do we deliver the SDG 6, all the SDGs that need water, but also the climate adaptation and mitigation targets? So let me stop there, Hank, and it's delighted to be on this panel. Back to you. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Jennifer. And thanks again for really showcasing how water can be such a driving force for mitigation and adaptation. And working across these silos and sectors we've created is going to be of critical importance to really incorporate water in our mitigation and adaptation practices and deliver on these promises. We show that water is the driver for that change, the leverage, the mechanism to make that work. And making those connections is going to be of critical importance towards 2023, and of course to deliver on the Paris Agreement and the 1.5. Marie-Christina, you're here still. What would you're hearing everything, and of course the praise for what you do and the support. If you would stand on the stage in 2023, what would you like to see there? What happened in the lead up to that conference and a vision on beyond? Please take a mic.
Yes, so what I like to see, as I shared in my conclusion, is all these solution shared and innovative solution, not only by youth but by local grassroots communities. We have solutions, and we also have this resilience that should be valorized during this conference. So. I also like to add that, regarding the situation in Madagascar today, the drought that we are facing, many people are providing food emergency support. That's a good thing, but we also need sustainable project to be launched in our country, and we want the local communities to be involved. So during this dialogue, I imagine that local community representative will be there, youth will be there, women leaders will be there, and we can have this high diversity of people all around the table. I don't only want to be listened, I want to be part of the decision making on the table, sharing my solution. Maybe it can be also scalable in other countries. So yeah, that's my main focus.
Fantastic, Marie-Christina. And I think that this really is at the heart of what we try to do, but it is not easy, and what we need. Second, Billy, what would you, listening what we heard, put on the table of 2023? And I have a question after Billy from the audience. Yeah, Billy.
Yes. Actually, from what I've heard, I want to see operationalization of these plans. From someone on the ground, I want to see exactly what is the pathway from these targets, from these policies, into how each country, how each local community actually receives these policies, because that's what I've seen in our experience. We have the laws, we have the policies, but are they being implemented on the ground? It's a huge, huge question mark. And that has been the criticism, for both high-level dialogues such as this. And that's what we want to address, I believe, in the conferences to come.
And thanks, Billy. And I think that's of critical importance, and also why it's so great to also have the UN, a partner like the World Bank, governments from across, to not only showcase those innovations, but to evaluate and validate them, to turn them into business cases and opportunities so we are able to replicate, scale, and mainstream it. Right now, the minority of our investments goes to the projects we want to see, and we have to turn that minority into a majority. And for that validation, evaluation, and implementation are of critical importance. So thanks for sharing. I have one question from the audience before I hand over the floor to my great partner, Sultan, to wrap it up. Please introduce yourself.
Good morning. My name is Guillaume Herman, and I work for Marine Scotland in Aberdeen. Thanks all for the presentation. It's been really interesting.
For the camera, you have to...
Oh, yes, sorry.
Yeah.
May I ask, what will be the number one innovation or solution that will, for you, provide the best outcome to provide clean water, like for you in Madagascar? If you have to, mention one.
Okay.
Sorry.
Quick. Yeah. Marie.
How can I answer?
The one
that?
solution.
The one solution. There is no one solution.
Best answer.
There is no one solution. We have various solutions. And maybe one initiative that I can also share is that we currently launch a research and innovation center on climate justice and gender that also involve water innovation in Madagascar. So yes, it's really important to valorize all kinds of innovation, and yeah, that will be my answer. Do you have another answer, Billy? The number one.
We have a question from Scotland saying, what would be your number one solution you want to put on the table in 2023? It's coming from the audience here in the pavilion.
Well, I'm biased towards nature-based solutions, obviously, from rewilding, reforestation, and bringing back our ecosystem so that they can provide basic services such as water. So it's dealing with two problems at the same time: biodiversity loss, water loss, and climate change. So that's three. Sorry.
Very good, Billy. Spot on, I would say. And there are no one single solutions, but what both Billy and Marie showcased is that those solutions are so comprehensive, ticking so many boxes by focusing on systems, nature, and their capacity. And at the same time, what Marie also said, do this in an inclusive way. Bringing these coalitions of young, youth, women, not only to the conference, but beyond, capacitating them and making sure that their ideas are validated and scaled and replicated for the impact we see. The time is up. I want to hand it over to my dear friend and partner towards 2023, Sultan Rahimzoda, to end this session. I really want to thank the pitchers and the panelists for joining us online and here live in this water pavilion. I really want to wish you an amazing, inspiring COP26 and beyond, and hope to see you And I want to guarantee that we see you in the road towards 2023 and beyond. Thank you very much. Sultan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Hank. I would like to start with wishing very happy birthday to Hank, to Jamila and Jennifer's son. And I would like to add that tomorrow is birthday of my daughter also. So we have wonderful, basically, days here in Glasgow, also celebrating the birthday of such a wonderful people. I wish Hank and their friends health. Of course, first of all, happiness, prosperity, and of course, new energy, enthusiasm, and inspiration to fight for water, which is the source of our life. So, and I would like also to thank my dear friend and a colleague and partner, Henk Owing, for excellent moderation of our side event. I thank also Excellencies Minister Tom de Bruyn and the First Deputy Minister Jamshed Shoemzoda for their welcoming remarks and commitments of their governments, the government of Tajikistan and the governments of the Netherlands, as co-chairs of the UN 2023 conference, to make this conference major milestone, even to create momentum and accelerate progress on achieving the water-related goals and targets. And my special appreciation to my dear friend and co-chair of the Dushanbe International Advisory Committee of the Dushanbe process, Global Director of the World Global Water Practices, Ms. Jennifer Sarah, for co-organizing this side event and joining us virtually despite the very inconvenient time in Washington, D.C. I think it's very early morning, but she is joining us in this event, so highly appreciate it, dear Jennifer. And I also appreciate, of course, the valuable inputs by our speakers and the panelists representing different stakeholders. Dear friends, our distinguished speakers and panelists have brought their ideas and perspectives how to link water and climate, including in the agenda of the UN 2023 Water Conference. We have had a pitch of successful and scalable case studies showcasing water solutions in climate actions. So, Marie-Christina Kolo from Madagascar and Billy Dumaliang from Philippines. They presented the excellent approach and solutions, but two findings from these presentations. The first is transformation of the risk into opportunities. We saw that how the young people basically could do this change. And despite those problems they have in their countries, they're building the capacity of the young generation. And the second finding is the involvement of the young generation in this process. And I think it's perfect because the young generation is our future, and we are very happy having such kind of the young people with us in this process. And I would like to add that jointly with the Netherlands, with other partners, we are doing a lot, bringing young in the platforms of the water for the Dushanbe conference, for the UN 2023 conference. So you are welcome. And thank you very much for leading this process in your countries. Indeed, you will be people of the change in the future, and wish you all success with this. Our participants have expressed their expectation from the conference, what they want to get out of this major event, and how the co-chairs, Tajikistan and the Netherlands, can involve different stakeholders in its preparatory process. Honorable Minister Tom de Bruyn convinced us that we can create a world where everyone has access to highly quality water. But we can only accomplish this if we act now, if we all invest in water. First Deputy Minister Jamshed Shoemzoda said that the droughts are going to be the next pandemics for the humanity, for which there will not be any vaccines. And that is something that requires from us to act now. We have to do this. We have to mobilize our efforts to address this challenge. And they are true. There are many opportunities on the ground, and the examples of Madagascar and Philippines again show that there are many opportunities there, and we have to use them accordingly and appropriately, and we have to act. And we are doing that basically. For the first time in the history of COPs, the water pavilion has been organized, which gives a lot of opportunities to different stakeholders to write the profile of water in the global agenda, to show that water actions are prerequisite to build climate resilient agenda. Water and climate coalition leaders and youth representatives last week, they insisted urgent integrated water and climate agenda, actively raising awareness on the central role of water in adaptation, mitigation, and resiliency. And it was mentioned by our honorable panelists, by Ms. Jennifer Sara, by my friend from Bangladesh, Mr. Malik, and Jamila also about this. So I think all these cases, they're showing that we are on the true way, and Tajikistan and the Netherlands are keeping this process, this spirit of COP26 towards the Dushanbe conference in 2022 and the UN conference in 2023. And it was, as it was mentioned by Hank, beyond the 2023 until the 2030 agenda, basically. And we have been requested basically to provide the key messages from this session, and here they are basically. Water, because of its many interlinkages, can bring together all stakeholders, individual, institutional, informal, to forge coalitions, strengthen capacities, and provide solutions to be replicated and scaled. The UN 2023 conference has to be the place where the water sector, and especially other sectors, will show water as a catalyst for sustainable development. The place that shows water can be the deal maker, the leverage point for a green economy, climate resilience, and more sustainable and inclusive world. The UN 2023 Water Conference will strive to identify opportunities and seek to connect and integrate the water agenda to other related themes and processes with a view to promoting a holistic and synergetic narrative and approach that puts water at the heart of the 2030 agenda. Both the preparatory process and the conference itself will seek to shine the spotlight on commitments that create impact and set a clear agenda for the second half of the water action decade and beyond until 2030, while promoting a longer-term approach and perspectives going beyond 2030. As Deputy Minister Shoim Zoda mentioned, the UN conference in 2023 is hope for many of us, but it is also our responsibility to make it a watershed moment, and let's join our efforts, take commitments, and put actions on the ground to make this happen. I wish all of us success in this way and hope to see you next year in Dushanbe to continue our collaboration, our commitments, our actions towards water, towards UN 2023 Water Conference and the Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you very much for joining us in this side event. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes, thank
Nice to meet
you.
everyone.